text from, chapter 5. And this is a familiar story, but it's one that I love to tell over and over and over. I don't know how many times I have preached from this passage of Scripture, and I can always take it in a different direction. You can preach about the home, you can preach about the church, you can preach about sickness, you can preach about the power of God, you can preach just about anything, any direction that you go into it, and I enjoy it. And it's about Jairus' daughter being raised to life. And so if you have your Bible in Mark chapter 5 with verse 22, I'll read that with you. And behold, there come one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and when he saw him, he fell at his feet. And behold him greatly, saying, My little daughter lieth at the point of death. I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, that she may be healed, and she shall live. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed him and thronged him. And then it kind of pauses there, and there's another story, but it continues on in verse 35. And while he yet spake, there came from the ruler of the synagogue's house certain that said, Thy daughter is dead. Why troublest thou the master any more? And as soon as Jesus heard the words that spoken, he said unto the ruler of the synagogue, Be not afraid, only believe. So may God bless the reading of his word this morning as we have heard it. May he bless also the preaching of his word today. We have here a story of a father who has a daughter that has taken sick. The Bible said that she is sick unto death. The father came in that afternoon probably and found that his daughter was sick. And obviously she was very sick. And maybe the mother was holding her, trying to comfort her. Maybe he was, or she was putting a cold compress to her fevered brow to try to reduce the fever, but to no avail. You know, we go through this life sometimes, and we try to do all that we can do. We try to do it within our own power, our own resources. And it seems like at the last thing we do, we want to turn to God. It's sad, but that's the truth. You know, this family had probably spent their money. They had probably gone to the medical association there in the community and tried to get help. They probably tried a home remedy and it didn't work. And finally he says to his daughter, he said, Honey, I know a man that's downtown that's preaching, and I believe that he can help us. I'm going to go get God. This man believes that not only God has the answer, but God is the answer. Amen. And that's true in your case and my case this morning. God has the answer tomorrow. I'm glad that he didn't say, well, let's go call Joy Osteen, or Robert Schuller, or Benny Hinn, or some of these other preachers. But he said, let's go get God and bring him to our house. You know, that's the answer for a sin-sick world. That's the answer for a sin-sick church. That's the answer for a sin-sick nation, or a sin-sick man or woman, boy or girl. Amen. If we could go get God this morning. And throughout the New Testament, there are places where someone has summoned God or beckoned God to come to their house. One of the stories is of a centurion. He had sent for one of his servants to come and have Jesus heal him, for he was very sick. And the servant went and said, you need to come to the centurion's house because he's sick and he needs to be healed. Jesus was willing to go to the centurion's house. But the Bible said that on the way that they met some more coming to him and said that the centurion said, don't come to his house because he was unworthy to have him in his home. And Jesus said, never have I seen such great faith in all Israel. And when the messengers went back home, they found that the servant had been healed. You see, the centurion believed that if Jesus could just speak the word, it would be sufficient. That's called faith. That's called faith. Mark 22 said, and there became one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and he fell at his feet. Fell at the feet of Jesus. That tells me that right there that he knew that Jesus was the solution to his problem. He had met Jesus perhaps, or maybe he had heard him preaching down by the marketplace, or maybe he had acquired faith by seeing some of the miracles that had been worked by Jesus. But he knew that he was the answer to the difficulty. You see, he knew what the problem was. And the problem was in his home. Sometimes we act like the problem is somewhere else. It's in the neighborhood. It's because of other things, you know. The youth program at church is not working as it should, or the Sunday school teacher is failing to teach it, or the preacher is not saying the right thing. You know, that's the problem, you know. But he said the problem is at my house, and I need you to come to my house to fix my problem. Too many parents want to blame everything else, everything that happens, on someone else. It's never our kids. Our kids are always good kids. Can I tell you, through the years as a minister, as a pastor, that I have found the notes that kids have written in church? And many of them are indecent notes and conversations that the parent would never believe if I carried them to them and said, this is what your child wrote. The problem is not because the police arrested your child. The problem is not because the teacher failed your child. The problem is not because there's too many vapor and smoke shops on the corner. The problem is not because there's too many R-rated movies out there. The problem is simply because it's a problem in our house that needs to be corrected. And we fail to do that. We have a wicked and evil society that we're living in today. And I'll tell you, it dictates to us how to think. It dictates to us what we ought to be doing. It dictates to us how to teach our children and how to operate our household. And that's the wrong policy. If every home in every church could get God to come to their house. You say, our house is in the need of God's visitation. Our house needs God. Why is it always we want to think that it's someone else's home that's got the problems, you see? See, if every household is in need of God. There are no perfect families any longer. Everybody has a dysfunctional family today. There are no perfect families in Owens Chapel Church. There's no perfect families in Cornerstone or any other churches today. You know, he said his family is where the need is. You know, you'll never get any help from God until you acknowledge that you are the one that needs God in your life today. You need God in your family today. I think of all the homes today where moms and dads are so worldly minded that they thinking today, you know, we can take our family and we'll take them away from church. Sunday after Sunday, and we'll get them exposed more to the world. You know, we'll let them skip church to this Sunday and next Sunday, and we'll go to the tractor pulls, or we'll go to the boat shows, or the antique car displays, or we'll go to the home and garden shows. We'll go somewhere, you know. We'll do this and we'll do that, and we'll buy this and we'll buy that, and we'll just take our family, you know. But we do everything, but we don't have time for God. Just because you didn't hear from God maybe today doesn't mean He hasn't spoken to you. You see, our lives are filled with such clutter. We're on the phones, we're texting, we're playing video games, and we're doing all kinds of stuff, thinking about our to-do order or what we should be doing tomorrow, the next day, and we let stuff stop allowing us to serve God. That's the problem. It's no wonder that our homes are crumbling. It's no wonder today that we have seemingly intentionally kept God from our homes. We don't want Him to enter the front door anymore. In fact, the destruction of our home is because of the fact that we have not allowed God in. It's time to go get God. It's time to go in God's direction and seek Him out today. Our homes have so much competition here in the world today, you know. I asked this question at my church not long ago. I said, let me just be honest with you. I mean, don't raise your hands. I said, when was the last time that your family has sat down to an evening meal together at least 3 times a week? And I bet there's very few hands that could be raised today. When was the last time that you sat down together? No TV, everybody at the table, no basketball practice, no soccer team, no volleyball, no cheerleading, no PTA, no union meetings, no anything. When was the last time you sat down together? It'd be good if we could go and get God and bring Him to our homes and dust off the Bible once again. What we need is God in our homes. And folks, we all, and especially our children, need an oversized dose of God. Yeah, we do. We teach our kids that the things of this world, this present world, they're wrong. We need to teach them that. You say, well, preacher, you know, that these things you're talking about are too old-fashioned today. I mean, we change our ways of living today, you know. But when God comes home with you, everything else will change also. I promise you it will change. And God hasn't changed yet. God is the same God that spoke to your grandparents. Someone needs to go get God and bring Him to our homes, because our homes are sick, and if God doesn't come in soon, it'll be too late. The request of Jairus, verse 23, he said, I besought Him greatly, but my little daughter lies at the point of death. I pray Thee to come and lay Thy hands on her, that she might be healed, and she shall live. My little girl is dying. When things get bad enough, you'll go looking for God. And apparently things haven't gotten bad enough yet, because we keep looking for other ways, substitutes. Oh, the doctor says, try this. Come back in a couple of weeks and we'll talk about it again. Oh, you can ask your friends and your neighbor for advice, and what shall I do? But somewhere, sometime, somehow, someone had better go get God and bring Him home with them. Come and lay Thy hands on her, that she might live. That's the petition He's making for her. Come. You know, we see a desperate dad here. How desperate do you have to get to go look God? Zacchaeus climbed a tree for he wanted to see the Lord. The woman with the issue of blood slipped out of the house into the group of people and touched the hem of his garment. Nicodemus came to the Lord by night. He slept out. I was preaching over at Oak Grove one evening, and I had just gave my scripture and started my introduction, and somebody in the back jumped up and he said, preacher, wait, I can't wait any longer. I got to come to God. And I said, well, come on, brother. And he came on down, and we knelt at the altar, and we had the invitation. Didn't even have the invitation extended. We just went on and prayed with him. I was at a church convention over in Rocky Mount, and we had about 800 and 900 some people over there. And the fellow opened up the service, and he said, we're hoping somebody will get saved here today. In fact, if anybody's lost, they can come on now. 3 people got up and came on down before any preaching was ever done. Yeah. Relationships are shaky. Financial issues, health issues today, job issues. It's not a social issue today that so big that we can't bring it before God and say, God, help me. Oh, with Jesus, the impossible becomes possible. Meanwhile, back at the home, you've got this little girl and her mother. And her mother, I can see her rocking her in the chair back and forth. And she said, honey, hang on. Daddy's going to get God. Daddy's going to get God. He'll be here soon. Could it be today that maybe, just maybe, you know, that somebody here is nearer death than they could possibly know, and we just can't get the big picture yet to understand that this may be the last chance we have to come before God? Could it be that maybe this is the last chance before some home splits up? Maybe this be the last chance we get to pray for our church, that it would never languish or decline or weaken, but be strong in the Lord. In between this story, and I didn't mean to go there, but I'm going to go there, there's a story. Jairus is on the way to the house. Jesus is on the way to the house of Jairus. I picture in my mind, Brother Rex, that he's leading Jesus. He said, come on, Lord, come on. It's not much further now. He's in a, come on. It's just down the road, just a little bit. It's going to take a left turn, and it's going to be up the hill, and our house is going to be right there. Come on, Jesus. They're walking. Jairus is excited. And suddenly they stop. They're thronged with people. And a woman with the issue of blood comes out. And she touches him with his garment, and Jesus ministers to her. Can I say you, Jesus is never too busy to minister to you. Amen. But Jairus is over here. Now he's thinking one or two things, I believe. And I think I know which one. One, he's saying, why in the world are you stopping? My daughter's sick. Jesus, come on, you don't have time to mess with her. She's had this problem for 12 years. One more day is not going to make any difference. Just come on. Or he's thinking, man, look at the power of God. Look what he just did for this woman. Oh, I can't wait till he gets to my house and see what he's going to do at my house. But you know what I think he's thinking? somebody comes and says, don't bother him no more because the girl is dead. I can see him right now. I can almost think his thoughts. And he's going, yeah, if you hadn't have stopped, she would have lived. I asked for you to come to my house to help my child, and you stopped and you spent your time with her, and see what happened. I don't know why you did this to me. I had priorities. Like she had that, like I say, 12 years. What difference would have made one more hour a day? You could have come on to my house. And Jesus sees his thoughts, I think. And he's saying, brother, be not afraid. Only believe. I said Jesus was following Jairus in the beginning. Now, Jairus is following Jesus. He's falling behind with his head down and his shoulders slumped, mumbling. I'm trying to tell you one thing. I don't know why he did all this for, because my daughter's dead. I thought, you know, I didn't even get to see her before she passed away. Jesus, why did he do that? You ever, question God? Why? Why you do that to me? There's another sermon I have preached from this, and I'm going to try to hurry and get through here as quick as I can. I just thought of my mind again, but I preached it. You know, when interruptions come in life, what do? We just talked about Sister Trudy and Sister Faye and Brother Sasser losing their wife. Those that know me know that my Patricia passed away 15 years ago. And I'm going to tell you, the easiest thing in the world I could have done at that point was to quit preaching. The easiest thing I could have done was just walked away from it and said, God, there's not another woman on the face of this earth that has loved you and served you and worked in the church. She sang in the choir, worked with the ladies' auxiliary, the youth program, and she was so faithful and dedicated. She prayed for me and prayed for my daughter. She was, everybody loved her. Why in the world did you take her? You see, it's real easy to get discouraged, isn't it? And want to quit. But I didn't. I trust the wisdom of God and the love of God. I tell my people every Sunday, and I'll tell you the same thing. God cares for you and God loves you. More than you'll ever know. He loves you. There have been things in my life that have happened, and I'd love to share a testimony with you, but I know I don't have time to do all that. But I can tell you there's a lot of things that have happened in my life. There's been a lot of people, though, that have given up because it didn't go the way they thought it ought to go. I had a member over in Pine Tops when I preached over there. His father and mother died, and he quit going to church. He said, I don't understand why God would take somebody as faithful and dedicated as they were, and he just quit on him. There's been many parents that have prayed for their children, prayed for their safety, prayed for their homecoming, year after year, and God just put his arms around them and said, be not afraid, only believe. There's been many missionaries that gone to the foreign fields and didn't know how they were going to stay there, how they would ever be able to get the funds to complete the ministry. And God put his arms around them and said, be not afraid, only believe. There's been many people who are sick, parents who have stayed up with children and concerned about the fever and rocking them in their arms. not knowing what the outcome would be, and all of a sudden God puts His arms around them. Only believe. Don't be afraid. Just believe. Perhaps I'm talking to somebody this morning that's in the midst of decision making. You know, right now, you're trying to make a decision on what to do. Can you hear God saying, don't be afraid. Only believe. Only believe. The results of God coming into their home. I want you to notice verse 42. He said, straightway the damsel rose and walked. She was the age of 12. They were astonished, it said. In that home, this moment is a happy home. In this moment is a happy mother and dad. There's a happy daughter that has came to life, and she's grateful. And there's those that are looking on that are surprised by the great power of God. You see, great things happen when Jesus comes into the house. It was in the house that Mary wiped the feet of Jesus with her hair. It was in the house that Peter's mother-in-law, who had died, was made whole and well and rose from the dead. It was in the house where Jairus' daughter was brought back to life. It was in the house where doubting Thomas became a believer. It was in the house where 2 blind men were healed. In the house where Jesus instituted the Lord's Supper. It was in the house where the Word of God was preached. And it was in the house where I was saved. When Jesus comes into the house, great things happen. You see, Jesus desires to be in the house. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I'll come into him and sup with him and he with me. Jesus in the house, we can live better. When Jesus in the house, we can love better. We can forgive one another. We can be of one accord, and souls can be saved. And when we see the results of God coming into a home, it brings happiness to all. What we need now is not more global trade or oil exports or better social security system or a conservative legislator. What we need right now is to experience and the results of having Jesus come into our home. What a difference it would make, my friend. Maybe there's someone listening here this morning to me right now. You're not saved and you're lost. Lost in sin, lost without Christ, lost in eternity forever. You see, Jesus is coming back, and all you're going to have to look forward to is doom and gloom. But Jesus said He will bring life and hope and happiness to it when He comes back again. I think perhaps when I look at things as they are, and I'm going to close because I know you're getting hungry out there, and it's time to settle on in. But I want you to think about what Jesus done when He came and looked around and saw. There was a woman caught in the act of adultery, and He said, I'll give you a glimmer of hope, and I'll forgive your sins. There was those that was paralyzed, and there was leopards. And He said, I'll heal you and give you a glimmer of hope. I'll cast off all these diseases, and I'll if you're downcast and outtrodden or downtrodden, whatever disease and demon possessed, He said, you know what? I'll give you a glimmer of hope. And I'm so glad today He does that. Because let me tell you, we have all made mistakes. All. We are sick. We are heartbroken. We are hopeless. There are young and old today that are facing all kinds of obstacles. Our past is full of mistakes. But Jesus said, I give to every person the gift of life. Eternal life if you'll receive me. It's offered to every tongue, every nation. It's offered to every person, Jew, Gentile, black, white, every person on the face of this earth. He offers salvation today. Doesn't matter what kind of sinner you are, how fleshly you may have your thoughts, no matter how religious or how prideful you are, or how complicated your sins may be. He told me that He has come to seek and save the lost. And let not your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. Jesus doesn't always get a chance to get in the house. Some people shut the door and don't let Him in. May I say today, don't reject Him. Don't reject Him. Let Him come into your home. You don't have the assurance of another moment. You really don't. Why don't you come to Jesus and let Him come into your home? Or better yet, why don't you accept Him now and you take Him home with you on this homecoming day? Let it be homecoming for you. Gracious Father, I bow my heart before you now and say thank you for giving me the privilege to preach your word. I thank you, Heavenly Father, that you didn't just cast me aside. My life was undone and incomplete without you. And I needed a Savior. You heard my cry and you came to me. And I pray, Lord, that you'll look around today and look into the hearts of people today, see what their need is. And I pray, God, that they'll surrender and reach out to you, Lord, with whatever faith they have, whatever little amount of faith they have. Let it be exercised today and claim the salvation and the great wonder and the love of God. In Jesus' name, amen. Brother Pastor, turn it over to you.